Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Alissa Sklar. I'm the VP of Marketing at GIS Planning, part of the Financial Times fDi Intelligence Portfolio, and I am delighted to be here with my colleague, Agnese Sturmane, a Business Development Executive from our team. Hello, Agnese.
Thank you for organizing the webinar.
I'm so happy to be doing this with you, and I'm really excited to help people discover the power and the data in fDi markets.
All right, awesome. Well, first of all, I think we need a little bit of introduction of what is fDi markets, because I saw a lot of people are new. A lot of people are familiar with GIS planning solutions like the Zoom Prospector, very familiar with Zoom Tours, but maybe not as familiar with other products that are in the fDi Intelligence portfolio. And just to give you an overview, fDi Intelligence portfolio has multiple software solutions, and we're mostly focusing on helping communities to accelerate investment attraction. And we mostly do that through data-driven solutions. And fDi Markets is one of them. And it's the most comprehensive database that tracks fDi, so greenfield foreign direct investment. What is also interesting that it also tracks interstate investment in the United States. So if you are an American EDO and you are focusing on a lot of attracting also local investment from the United States, it also captures that data. And so, as you just mentioned, yes, I just got back from C2ER, and it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of our clients, as well as meet a lot of future potential clients. And it was really interesting to hear how organizations are using this data and utilizing the data. Let me start sharing the screen before I start. All right, perfect. So over here, this is our fdimarkets.com website. So if you would be a user, this is what you would be using to access the site. And over here, we have outlined 4 major groups of users of the database. So we have multilateral organizations in academia. So a lot of universities, researchers, think tanks are using our database. And when you ask the question, well, how do our users are using the database? It will differ depending on what kind of organization they are. So the multilateral organizations and academia are using a lot for research purposes to really validate their research, understand the trends, global fDi trends and opportunities. Then I see that today we have quite a lot of economic development organizations. So really want to expand into how economic development organizations are using the solution. So first of all is to really understand what investment are in your location. So what are the companies that are investing? What are the major source markets where these investments are coming from? What industries are represented? As well as to really understand why these companies choose to locate in your location. What are their key motives and determinants? Another great thing that a lot of economic development organizations are utilizing, how they're utilizing this tool, is when they're building their fDi strategies. Really understanding if their domestic market strategy should be aligned with their fDi strategy, looking at which sectors they should be prioritizing their efforts, as well as to which markets they should be prioritizing their efforts. Another great thing is that you can do is when you're actually talking to companies, you can easily capture their global footprint, what other investments these companies are conducting. And another thing, what you can also do with the fDi markets is actually it assists in lead generation. So we not only track projects that have actually been announced and have happened, but are also in very early stage investments. So when companies are just thinking of relocating or expanding their locations. Any other questions?
Nope.
Great, so let me start. So just here, let me start actually logging into the system. By the way, I also wanted to mention that we do also conduct one-on-one demos. So if your organization would like to learn more about the fDi markets, you can also request a demo here on the website. We can either organize a one-on-one demo, or we can also organize a group demo for your organization. And the most users that would be using this a database would be either researchers or a business development professionals. So as we're entering the database, so this is the landing page. Let me show you first all of the data. And right here on the right corner, we can see how many different projects we have. So to date, we have almost 360,000 projects. And this is a question I often get asked a lot. Well, how do we track these projects? How do we follow up with these projects? So actually, we have an in-house multilingual data analyst team that on daily basis is looking through thousands and thousands of data sources, cross-checking this information, validating this information, and then uploading it to the database. And that's why we can really call it the most comprehensive database that is available in the market, and that tracks real-time investment. So here we can see that this is how much data we have. So we started tracking the fDi flows in 2003. So this year is a anniversary year for our data team. So it's been 20 years since we are tracking the investment. And we can really see also how in 2018 and 2019, those were boom years. A lot of fDi was happening around the world. And 2020, due to a global pandemic, there was a huge drop in foreign direct investment. But we can also see a healthy rebound in 2021 and 2022. And so the way we can see this data, we can always look at project perspective. So really look at every details of each project, where this investment is happening, a little bit of description, what exactly this company is planning to do, what is the sector, what is the activity. And we can also look through company perspective. So for example, we can see over here on the right, we have a long list of companies that have thousands of projects, like Amazon is a massive leading investor. And if you're talking to a company that has multiple projects, it's very interesting to see what other projects they have around the world, how they're investing. We can easily do that as well. And then another great thing within the database is that throughout the whole process, like for example, we see this nice chart, we can also easily download here information, like we can download the JPEG or PNG, different sort of type. But what is the real beauty of any database? It is how easy you can find the information that is useful for you. And over here, we can have a search. So over here, let me show you just briefly how we can narrow down our search. So essentially, the way we search anything in our database, it is based on multiple things like source market. It can be a specific geography, like for example, North America, Western Europe, Africa. It can be also just a country like United States, or even multiple countries. Like maybe I'm interested in understanding what investment is coming from China, but also Macau and Hong Kong. I can easily add these things as well. The same applies to destination markets. It can be a region, it can be a country, it can be even a state if I'm looking at maybe just Texas or Delaware. We can also look at industry perspective, how specific industries, like for example, aerospace industry is doing around the world. We have also that opportunity. And also we can look at the specific date range. For example, only the investment that has happened in 2022, or only investment that has happened in the last couple of months. And just for the simplicity today, I have also prepared a couple of searches that I have saved. And you can save as many searches as you like over here, just to save up some time. And what I thought could be very interesting to look at today would be to look at what is happening in fDi in 2022. And actually, so today we'll be just looking at a couple of projects and a couple of trends, but also our fDi intelligence team has recently released a report, and that's an annual report that our data team is releasing every year. And I think after the webinar, we'll also send you a link so you can actually download a full report and learn more about fDi global trends. Does that sound good? Hopefully that means
yes, definitely. That sounds great. Sorry, I just muted myself so you don't get any background noise, but yes, that sounds perfect.
All right, so what I have done today is I have looked at fDi, let me see, global fDi 2022. So let's look at a couple of FDI, global FDI. So the way we always see data, we can look at home live data, which gives us an overall picture of the data. We see the chart, how many investments have happened over time, which are some of the leading companies. We can also here is the investor signals. So that this is what you would be using for lead generation. So investor signals is when a company is at very early stage and they're indicating that they're planning to invest. So this would be great for your business development teams, really looking at signals, which companies might potentially want to expand into the United States or maybe Canada, and identifying also these key decision makers in those companies. But now let's look today at trend analysis, which I think is going to be quite fun. So over here, we have a breakdown of all of the projects. One thing what I did before, I removed in the preferences interstate investments. So we're just really looking at foreign direct investment. So let's look at what are the leading source markets in 2022 for foreign direct investment. And we can see that some of the leading sources for foreign direct investment in 2022 were United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Switzerland, Netherlands, and India. What is quite interesting that China has to some extent has really seen much less projects in 2022. One big reason for that was because the COVID restrictions were only lifted in the beginning of 2023. So we really see that China has not been recovering as strongly for foreign direct investment as a source market as well as a destination market. Now let's see where is the most of the foreign direct investment flowing in 2022. So we can see that major destination markets, also leading destination market is United States, United Kingdom, Germany, India, UAE, Spain, France, and Poland. And I was cross-checking various different data. So like we can also look at a longer time frame and really analyze also trends. And one thing what I really discovered, and I mean, it's pretty logical, but I think it's interesting to see that just how much Russia has lost foreign direct investment in the last year due to its unprovoked invasion in Ukraine. And if we look at global trends, we can easily see that 2022 was not as an active year everywhere, but 2021 saw a really good recovery. Then we can see that the situation in Russia is very, very different. In 2022, they only saw 15 foreign direct investment projects. And again, those were for mostly close by countries like Belarus, Turkey that are more friendly. In 2023, there's been only 2 foreign direct investment projects. So really, we can also see how geopolitical tensions are changing the investment flows around the world. Going back to the global FDI, and I mentioned that also before, that we also track the motives and determinants why companies are choosing to invest in a specific location. And over here, we can also see that the major driver of investment in 2022 has been the proximity to markets or customers. And that's been the major reason why companies are choosing to invest. And another reasons are domestic market growth, skilled workforce availability, as well as regulatory environment. But that's mentioned much less. And again, so if you are looking at your own markets, if you specifically want to learn how investors are determining their investment decisions, this is additional great support for your organization. Now, another important and great thing that how we categorize the data is to really understand what industries and what sectors are contributing to foreign direct investment. And here we can see that the major sector has been software and IT services. It has generated more than 4,000 different projects around the world. And also business services and financial services have been major contributors to projects as well as jobs created. However, one thing is very interesting if we're actually looking at the capital investment. And then quickly the picture changes and we can see that renewable energy, this is a massive and growing industry as well. And it's been generating a huge amount of capital investment around the world, as well as semiconductors. There have been only 140 projects in semiconductor industry, but those are mostly massive giga projects that are contributing to a lot of capital investment. So maybe not so much projects, but really a lot of capital investment. And so another thing what we can always see is to really look at some of the major investors. So let's look at the parent companies that are investing. So we can see these are been some of the leading investors around the world, with International Workplace Group having 160 projects in 2022, Amazon being one of the leading investors, Deutsche Post, as well as LVMH Group. So massive, massive companies. What is always interesting as well is what kind of additional information we can find about these companies. So we can always click on these companies. We can open a company profile. And it's going to give us a brief overview of what the company is. We can see their website, we can see where it's registered, and we can also see all of the 2022 investments around the world that have happened. And one thing that I really like, well, this is we're looking at 2022, but just a click away, the Activate Search criteria allows us to see the full global footprint since 2003, so last 20 years. What other projects they have been investing, which really allows us to, maybe I want to understand more what projects have happened in Canada. I can easily click over here and I can also view projects. And this is what information we see for each project if we really want to understand that not only the trends and aggregated data, but actually narrow it down. So over here, if we look, we see what is the project, we see whether it's a new project or it's an expansion, as well as a data source, sector activity, capital investment, as well as jobs that were created. And that applies to all of the projects. So another great thing that I wanted to look at, so what's happening in the United States? I saw that we have quite a few delegates here today from the United States. So just wanted to also show you a bit of data in United States. So also here we see, so I have removed United States, so no interstate investment. So we can see that who are the leading source markets from foreign direct investment. Over here to the left, we have United Kingdom, we have Canada, Germany, France, Japan, Switzerland. And that is in terms of contributing to number of projects. And again, if we're looking at capital investment instead, we see that the leading source markets are completely different. Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan are leading the way. And again, this is due to semiconductor industry, these huge mega projects that are happening. And this is also going to be interesting to see that in the destinations. Let me do this in column charts. So what I really like, the FDI markets allows us to see it also through various different ways depicting the data. So we're looking at a column chart right now. We can see that, so New York, which is not surprising, New York, Texas, California are the leading the way of foreign direct investments around the world. In the United States, as well as Florida is doing really well. But what is really interesting that Arizona actually has attracted the most capital investment. And again, here we're looking at the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing. We can also see that Georgia is actually, through foreign direct investment, is attracting a lot of jobs. And again, all of these charts that we see in FDI markets, we can easily download and we can add them to our own presentations. I know that today we had only 30 minutes, and actually FDI markets has a lot of great other features as well. Like we can create our email newswires and receive newsletters. We can keep an eye out to specific companies and add them to our watch list. And another great feature, we can even create reports. So as we're doing a research on a specific industry or a specific region, we have also the opportunity of creating reports, and the system is going to create a great summary of the industry, and looks like someone has done really, really long, put in a lot of long hours to create a report, but actually it is generated by our system. I know that I think we also have a couple of questions in the chat box.
Yeah. So just a reminder to everybody that people can add questions in the Code 2 webinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. One of the questions about data visualizations, Agnes, I see that you can help visualize the data, and I think that's really useful both for marketing but also for reports, and also just because it helps people understand complex data more effectively. Could you talk to us about that a little bit?
100%, and that's a great question. So essentially, some of the examples I was showing you through the demo. So we have the opportunity of seeing the data here in a chart. We always have the opportunity of also displaying the data in, for example, column charts, in bar charts. We have over here, we only are looking at 1 year of data, but if we would be looking at multiple year data, we could also see, for example, growth, whether investment from a specific industry is growing or decreasing, and it would automatically show us. And any of these charts we can easily over here download and add to our reports. For a lot of researchers, it's also very important that we actually can create cross tabs or pivot tables. Really looking at various variables, for example, different source markets and different industries to really analyze the data. So you can really see that this database is also used by researchers, by people who really care about the details of the data.
That's really helpful. I think that makes a lot of sense because it really does help people take this really complex data and understand this as effectively as possible.
And I feel like it also saves a lot of time. So as we were chatting at the C2ER and really just learning more from examples of how our clients are using the database, I mean, we know how busy are economic developers. We have millions and thousands of things we need to do on a daily basis. And often we have to prepare for meetings with a very, very short amount of time. And let's say, for example, we have a bilateral meeting with, let's say, Mexico. And we really want to understand how our state, for example, I'm based in Arizona. So let's say, for example, what investment we have from Arizona to Mexico and from Mexico to Arizona. We can easily input all of this in the search criteria and immediately gather all of this intelligence. So just really, really can be a very, very helpful resource.
What about how you track the data? Like, how do you keep this data up to date so people can always trust that what they're seeing is as accurate as possible?
I mentioned that briefly at the beginning. So we do have a multilingual data analyst team. And so it is something that we're doing ourselves on a daily basis. And so we're really cross-checking it through thousands and thousands of sources. And our data analyst team is verifying. And I know that we get this question a lot about ChatGPT, AI, you know, how we can streamline all the processes. But what we have discovered in the recent weeks that even if we receive a lot of data, we can maybe find it through ChatGPT. The credibility of data is so important. So we do have a team that is cross-checking this information before they're including it into the database. And it is continuously updated, the database. So currently we have data all the way till 2023 April, and we're expecting to soon have the data also for May. So it's really up to date. And another great thing is if we're looking at the project database, we actually will be able to see the sources. So what is the data source? So if you, some of the data sources will not be publicly available and we're not able to share. However, if we cross-check this information, find at least one data source that is publicly available, we will be adding it to the system as well. And that's a great question. I get asked this a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about who's using this tool.
So I think this is what we kind of covered at the beginning as well. So those are EDOs, investment promotion agencies, consultancies. Some of the leading consultancies around the world are using the tool as well as companies. Just if they're big companies and they want to see what their competitors are doing, where they're investing, it is also of interest for them to see and use the data. And then researchers, a lot of universities, a lot of think tanks are using the data when they're analyzing foreign direct investment.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. I think this kind of helps us understand better how the tool can really help to drive strategy, how people can use it from reporting, how they can use it for their promotions. Maybe what I'll do is I'll grab the screen back here for a second, Agnes, because I'd love to show an example.
100%.
And then we can also show contact information. So just a reminder to everyone that I will be able to contact you by tomorrow. I'm going to share the link to this video. This is just, let me just pull this back up here. I just wanted to show an example also of something that I created. I was down at fADC in Florida, and I wanted to just go in and grab some information about aerospace, super important industry in that state, obviously, and was able to quickly put together this kind of compelling piece of artwork that I could use either on social media, in email, or different kinds of ways. So it really is very, very user-friendly, great data. We know it's up to date. We know it's really trustworthy, and there's all sorts of information that this can be shared. Up here on the screen, you'll see that there's information from Agnes as well, so you know how to get in touch with her. You will have that information in the follow-up email, which you'll get by tomorrow as well as a link back to the website and a link to download the new fDi intelligence report so you can see some of this data for yourself. I want to thank you.
I really would like to also encourage everybody one more time, if you have additional questions, and I think always fDi Markets is really interesting to do additional case studies to really understand whether if it's a specific industry that you're focusing on or if it's a specific geographical region. We can actually do a one-on-one demo, and we can look at that sectors or industries or geographies that you are interested in. And as I mentioned also in the beginning, we can do a group demo for you and your organization teammates to see how different departments could leverage off the data.
Perfect. That sounds great. So we will have this information included in the follow-up email. We thank you for taking time out of your busy days. Agnes, always a pleasure to do this with you. Thank you so much for the tour.
Thank you so much as well, and thank you so much for organizing the webinar, and thank you everybody for joining, taking your time. I hope that some of the fDi insights were useful.
Excellent. Thank you again. Have a great day, and we will be in touch. Bye-bye.